So we're starting right here in the lobby with our GFX. It's kind of tucked in the corner here. So when it comes to Nlight in general, it's a distributed intelligence system. So you have devices kind of all over the place. That'll be where your as-builds come into play. We're using aux sensors, we're using light switches, and we do have time schedules or photocell for exterior lighting. So for Nlight, just for instance, some of you may not be able to see it, but right on the green drywall, there's an aux sensor. Anywhere where you see that style aux sensor, that's ours. Okay, that's connected to our system. All right. So with our switches, you're going to run into a number of different styles. The rooms have what's called a single pole switch. It's literally just all of our devices fit in a single gang box, but that one's just on, off, raise, lower. Here what we have is the Nlight GFX. Okay. This one's used not necessarily just for aesthetics, but because it can do up to 16 channels. When we say channels, think like switch legs. Like you could literally, like if you had 16 single pole switches. All right. So we always do an all lights off option, and then we have the individual areas. So here's the reception area right above us. So we can on, off, raise, lower. Okay. So each of these individual sections has their own slider and on, off. All right. So you'll be able to come in here, hit any of this, and it has everything listed on what it does. So we have corridor right up here. So those are the 2x4s. And kind of the options keep going. So we have corridor cans, which are those right there. So one difference you're going to kind of see is, and we'll look at it on the can. So if you watch the cans turn on and off, you're going to see a quick on and off. When you see the corridor 2x4s, you're going to see a slow fade. All right. The reason behind that is those are intelligent fixtures. Okay. They don't have a relay actually going to them telling them to turn off. They're inherently turning off in that system. When it gets the command to turn off, the fixture itself doesn't lose voltage. It has its 120 or 277. The 0 to 10 within the fixture is just telling it to dim down to a state that puts it to sleep. Okay. The fixtures that turn on and off immediately, that's because it's an open and closed relay. Opening the relay, turns off, lights are off. So those fixtures I hit off, I don't have 120 or 277. I understand, usually these 2x2s or 2x4s, they're all intelligent fixtures. Okay. You hit off, you still have voltage there. Doesn't matter what you do with the switch. Off as many times as you want, you still have voltage to that switch. That's really important from a facility standpoint to know that. I know you guys should all be turning off the breakers, but just warning you. All right. So what we'll do, we'll move on to another section right now. Once again, this is pretty self-explanatory because it has it labeled out on what does what. We saw how to use it, on, off, raise, lower, all the sections. And then like I said, usually there's an all option as well. Okay. Do we have any questions on this switch or where we're at so far? No. All right. Let's move on. Good. All right, so what we're looking at is the Eclipse. That's the hub of our system, but it's not necessarily like the most important part of our system. Each individual device is intelligent. So if I had a room like this, it's just a wall switch, a sensor, they're actually, and a relay, obviously turn the lights on and off, they're talking to each other, okay? So the Eclipse right there is usually just doing exterior lighting or any type of time schedule you may have. When I say time schedule, that's not referring to the time delay on an aux sensor. The aux sensor, usually we set it 10 minutes. It's inherent in the device. We can change it 5, 20 minutes, whatever we want to do. But typically our aux sensors are at 10 minutes. They have a dim warning at 7.5. Basically, that would work no matter if it was actually attached to Eclipse or not, okay? But the Eclipse, what we do is we attach it to everything, so that way we can plug into that Eclipse, or realistically, we can Wi-Fi into that Eclipse and change programming to the whole building. We can change the time schedule for the exterior from if it's an astronomical to specific hours, or vice versa. If we want to extend the time delay on the sensors or lower them, we can do that as well. All those options are available through the Eclipse and do it in the whole building. And that way I don't have to go into each individual room, take out a wall switch, and program it. Now, as a facility standpoint, if I were to come out here and troubleshoot, and I'm, on the other side of the building, I don't know exactly what's wrong, usually I'll plug it into that zone. So through a laptop, we have what's called an NCOM kit. I can plug into any zone, okay? Basically, now I'm plugged into that zone, I'm in that room, I can troubleshoot that room from in there. If I'm over here, I can't see what's wrong, I can't see what's happening, I can't see exactly what devices are doing what, but being over there, it's gonna be much easier for me to troubleshoot that way.
What do you mean by plugging into a zone? Is there another controller in each
so
zone?
So you can plug it, no. So you can plug into any device.
Any device. So
our system's completely intelligent.
That device in
Yeah.
a certain zone.
Yeah, let's think of this job as being tiny. We just did this room, okay? Forget everything else that's here. I have a wall switch. If I hit it, see the light turning on and off, and you can hear a little click. Okay, there's a relay here. And then I have a sensor right there. I don't think I have a sensor over here, it's just the one. Okay.
This sensor for energy saving mode?
What was that?
This sensor for energy saving.
I'm sorry, I'm not catching. Oh, well, I mean, the sensors turn the lights off. Yeah, I mean, they only keep the lights on while you're occupied. So you come in, they'll turn on, you're in here, they're on. When you leave, they turn off after 10 minutes.
7.5.
They did, yeah. So at 7.5 they'll do, at 10 they'll turn off. So it's only 2.5 minutes later. This room can be completely independent from any system. We can do just this room with those 3 devices. I can program, I can do all that. I have programming I can change on this, very minimal. The relay I can change programming. The aux sensor I can change programming in terms of like the time delay. This room is going to work without anything attached to it. The power pack, it's your 120 or 277, and it's a switch layout. It also has a pod on there to create power for the other devices, because all that's in here is a Cat 5. This switch has a Cat 5. That sensor has a Cat 5, that's it. It's got to get power from somewhere. It gets it via the 24 volts over the DC, over the Cat 5.
So like say that switch is calling for these lights to turn on. Is it sending 10 volts of DC to turn it on?
No. It's just sending a signal.
Okay.
There's 24 volts. So you have, basically, if you look at a schematic on the Cat 5, you have 4 wires going to everything. You have your communication and your power in common. So that's all it is. So you have your power in common, always sending power to it. The sensor is not, it's all through intelligence. It's not physically turning on anything. So there's not a contactor, a sensor, anything like that. It's all intelligent. Okay? So if I wanted to change any programming in here, I could take the switch off the wall and plug in there with my computer. If I have an open port, like see how there's only one Cat 5 coming out of the sensor, technically I can take that sensor off, I can plug into the sensor. I have a splitter, I can plug into the relay. I can plug in anywhere. Typically we just do it with the switch because it's accessible. I don't have to walk around the ladder or anything. So if I want to make any changes, I can be in here, see the changes I'm making, make sure they work. I'm good to go. When we program on a large scale though, we usually are down here with print. So they'll have as-built that show all the devices they use, show where they put them. They show a serial number. So realistically, if I wanted to plug in here and go, hey, room 302, I want to change this setting, I can usually type in, I can usually look for 302 on the prints and it'll have a serial number. We program and label all the rooms, whether it's the lobby, a room, whatever it may be, and we'll just type in 302 and that'll come up. And then all the stuff in 302 will be listed because it's all labeled the same way. Do we have any questions where I'm at kind of right now? I know we're covering a lot in this room, but our system doesn't, when we go room to room, the only option that really changes is whether there's like a single pole switch or maybe a 2-pole, kind of like we were just in the reception area where we had multiple options on the switch. But other than that, your normal operation of on, off, raise, lower, whether it's an intelligent fixture or not, is all the same. You know, you have the same thing, it's just a larger scale, you know. So that's why we're covering a lot right here. So the Eclipse itself, up there, like I said, that's kind of the main hub. And the way it communicates to everything, because it only has 2 Cat 5 ports, but you may have hundreds of rooms, is bridges. Bridges are basically like an 8-port switch. Think of like a server. And they're just filtering all that information. So you have 6 or 7 rooms going back to a bridge, 6 or 7 rooms going back to another bridge. Those Cat 5 are going to other bridges in order to all kind of get it down and down until you have usually one home run coming back to this bridge, this Eclipse. Okay? This Eclipse itself, like I said, realistically, you're using it to program large scale changes or even small scale if you want to. It just depends on what you want to do. And your time schedules. And once again, that's areas without occupancy sensors. In this case, mostly the exterior lighting. Okay.
And this Eclipse, this is the only one in this building, or?
I gotta check with them. I know there's another one in the other building,
Yeah,
but you might have a couple of these buildings, and they'll have the locations of each of those, and be able to tell you what this does. You know, first, second, third floor, then the next one does fourth, fifth,
Yeah, 'cause I
sixth.
assume it's just a daisy chain network that's tied to all the devices.
So the buildings, yeah, the buildings aren't tied together. The Eclipses aren't tied to each other. Each one would be standalone.
Right.
If for any reason the campus wants everything on their network, they could pull a Cat 5 from each Eclipse, drop it to their local switch, whatever that may be. Each one you can change the IP address on and be able to see it through our software. If you want to do backnet, you know, you can do the same thing, it would just be changing the IP address. Okay.
From a troubleshooting standpoint, what's inside of these things? Are they're LED, I assume?
So this fixture, in terms of this fixture, this is an intelligent fixture. So this is just a normal fixture. So all your normal fixtures are going to be LED driver, and then the LED boards.
So just the 2x4s in
The 2x4s, 2x2s, yeah.
Those are intelligent.
Yeah.
So these are not intelligent.
Yeah, and we can see, so like I don't even know, but when I hit the switch off, get that immediate response, that's a relay. You can hear the relay too, the ceiling's open.
So like even, you know, they go out, what's the life expectancy?
I'm not doing a fixture thing. Yeah, so I mean, typically fixtures are warranted for 5 years. In terms of the fixtures themselves, so like if I walk up to a fixture, I do know this even though I'm doing lighting controls. You walk up to a fixture and half the fixture's out, okay? You have a couple options. First one you need to do is open the fixture. How many drivers do you have in there? Okay, most of the time you're gonna have one driver in a fixture, okay? And therefore, that one driver is gonna have low voltage coming out to the LED board, powering the whole LED board. If that's the case, and all those wires are connected, most likely that partial LED board's out, okay? And you can usually buy the different pieces. So like sometimes they may come like, this may be like, we might be able to tell. If you demo, sometimes you can tell. That looks like a single LED going across.
It's kind of a single strip.
Yeah,
across.
but a lot of times you can see like a little bit of dim in the middle, but most likely there's multiple pieces of LED in there, and you can replace that one or the other. Okay. Now, if the whole fixture's out, obviously you're gonna check power. Make sure our relay is getting power, our relay is sending power out. Going to the fixture would be testing the driver. You know, most of the time, if our relay is good, you have power coming to it, you have power coming to the fixture, most likely you have a bad driver. It's going to be rare that your full LED board will go bad, and the life expectancy of the LED board, from my understanding, is longer than the driver itself. LED board's not doing that much. The driver is what is capable of bringing 12277 in the low voltage and dimming and all that. So that would be your typical kind of scenario. You know, and think ballast bulb. I mean, it's really no different. It's just it's dimmable and it's using a different technology. But your troubleshooting really shouldn't be any different. You know, you go to you go to a fixture and half the fixture's out on a full fluorescent fixture, you change that bulb. A lot of times it brings up the other bulb, and that bulb's good now. And then if the whole fixture's out, typically it's probably the ballast. Go to the LED fixtures. Our intelligent fixtures are really no different. Okay. The only difference is they get a command over 0 to 10. So there's no way for you to check the relay to make sure there's power coming out. Once again, you make sure there's power coming into the fixture, and not power there at all. There's a little intelligent device there that's taking the Cat 5, and there's Cat 5 ports on it. And then there's 0 to 10 going between there and the driver. If you cut those wires, inherently that fixture should be full bright. Okay? 0 to 10 works on the idea that unless it's getting the signal below 10 volts, the fixture is going to be full bright. Okay? So that driver, if I take that purple and gray off and there's nothing there, it wants to be full bright. There's no relay impeding it, there's no intelligence cutting it off, nothing. It's just a fixture, it's just a driver, it would always be on. Okay? If you strip that purple and gray and touch it together, your expectation is the fixture is going to dim fully. You're shorting it out, it's as if it's getting 1 volt or 0 volts. It dims it fully. It may go out, it may stay on a little bit. Okay? But that's a good way to check the driver, kind of bypass the controls, and then check to see if the driver is doing what it's supposed to. Okay? But if you cut that purple and gray and you have direct voltage going to that, and it's still not lit up, your driver's probably that. Okay? Because once again, you're completely bypassing controls, and it's not like, well, the last command I gave it was off. It doesn't matter. That command is going to that little, what we call a Neo, that has a Cat 5 in it, and when you cut that purple and gray, that intelligence is completely wiped out. It's still there, it's over here, but the driver is split from it, and it's gone. It doesn't know that it ever received a signal. The driver itself is not intelligent. Okay? All right. How's everyone doing so far? Pretty good? All right. So we're covering a little extra, but realistically, I mean, this is what you guys are worried about, is troubleshooting and things of that nature. Going over that. We'll go into another room. Let me check one more thing. Is it still open? Yeah. And then most likely, based on it, I don't think the rooms are connected to the system because they're so simple. It's just going to be your common areas and your exterior lighting. There is a touch screen in here. You guys can all take a look at. I didn't see it because it was behind the door. One of the things with the exterior lighting, if it is on any type of time schedule or anything, the time schedule, if you're noticing the time schedule is not working correctly visibly, check that touch screen. Make sure that the time's accurate, the date's accurate, things of that nature. Okay? So that way we make sure that would be the first step if I would troubleshoot.
So does the outside lighting come on time schedule on
Here, let me tell you right now. Sometimes it could have both. Also the touch screen, I'm trying to press it and it's not responding to my touch. If they screw it down too tight, it cranks down the ring and it holds it too tight and it thinks it's getting touched all the time. So it's not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is loosen it up a little bit right now, and I should be able to do it. That one's already loose. It's this one. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, enter. So profiles are time schedules. Yeah, so they're running off a time schedule, exterior lights.
not a photosensor,
Right.
which means
but it'll be astronomical.
Daylight savings.
Yeah, so it'll change every day based on the what's in the programming in terms of daylight savings.
Somebody's programmed that into it already.
It's already in the system. So once we hit astronomical on, astronomical off, it knows that every day what the sunrise, sunset is, and then it knows when time changes and all that good stuff.
Okay, so we don't have to physically do anything on
No,
daylight
no.
savings.
When all that comes around, you're good to go.
But it's not a foil cell, it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the blue boxes are. They decide what sunrise and sunset is, and
What happens if it's real cloudy?
then they don't turn on.
I'm just curious. I get a big giant cloud comes over and blacks out the.
Right when it's kind of dark during the day, the sweet lights don't turn on.
If it's really bad, it does.
What's that?
If it's really bad, it does. Certain ones do.
Oh yeah.
The old suites, because they're on the photo cell.
Yeah, the old suites, I would guess, but not the new
Not
ones.
the new ones.
And some of them, the old suites, the lights on the outside stairwells are on all the time, right?
They're
So
24 hours.
Really,
Thank you.
we never know if the rest of it change any program on it, correct?
I mean, the expectation is no. So when it comes down to programming, I mean, we do the initial programming. We set it to Title 24, set it to whatever the school requested. So there's really no programming changes unless, like, you install some new devices, or maybe you have to replace a device. The one thing that is nice with having the computer and the software is you don't have to know a lot. You just don't need to know how to log into there. And what happens is, if you take, so each device has a serial number. So if you go up there and you're about to take out a relay or a sensor, when you take out that sensor, it's going to have a serial number on there. When you put the new sensor in, it's going to have a serial number on there. If you know both of those, here's my old one, here's my new one, in the system, if you search for either of those, you'll be able to replace it with the other one. So the old one will go from being online to offline, and the new one's online. And then it'll ask, hey, we lost this device, but we have this device now. Do you want to copy and replace this programming? All you have to do is hit yes. You don't have to know what settings were on there or anything like that, because sometimes there's more settings changes than you realize, and you have to go through and literally like look and know where it was default and where it is now. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a pain in the ass. But with having that option, it's a pretty easy swap over. But in terms of programming, updating software, updating firmware, all that, no. And until you get down the road and maybe like you start, you know, you wouldn't really add anything here, but like if you had to change out some devices, maybe you'll have to update some firmware in that area. But I wouldn't go through and update everything. You know, there's never any jobs I go to. It's like, okay, we had to fix a couple of these rooms. Now we have to go through and update all the firmware everywhere. It's not really the case. It's a pretty solid product in terms of like software like that.
it's not
You know?
worth it, basically.
Yeah, and like if for the next 5 years you guys didn't have an issue, you wouldn't have to touch any updates. So like you're not connected to anything. So like it needing to be updated is not required. The updates would be that everything works well together, and most of the updates that come out are like when a new device comes out. So a new panel comes out and it has more relays in it. Well, they have to make that work with everything, so there's an update. You know, things like that. But if you're not putting in new devices, there's no reason to go through here and we have to pay. Every 6 months we have to update all the firmware. Every 8 months we have to update the software. Nope, it just runs. You know, I've been doing this for almost 5 years. We don't, unless there's an issue in a job, we don't go back to that job. You know.
I didn't hear the answer to his question because I didn't get to fit in there, but is it on a photo sale or is it on time?
It's time schedule.
It's time schedule?
Yeah.
And they're already...
Same thing like the
Astronomical.
Okay, so I'm assuming it already knows...
It knows all
daylight
that.
saving and changes. Okay.
Yeah, which is what, this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, it knows all that, and it's interesting to go through. Like I never realized it, but like every day, basically, the sunrise and sunset changes by about a minute. So like when you go through there, you go day to day, it'll show you like, oh, today sunrise is at 6:55, tomorrow it's at 6:54. You know,
It's the same.
So that's what astronomical means.
Yeah.
it knows it every day. Yeah, and I mean, really, you only have the daylight savings time, 2 times a year, and then like I said, it changes every day. So, all right.
Yeah, same thing like we saw in the blue box when we looked at when they're 63.
Blue box is
Sunset,
us.
right?
We own that too.
Sunset.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had that in some of our other.
Yeah, so we're actually the lighting rep for lighting companies and controls, but it's LC&D falls under us too. So they're basically the same thing with the astronomical.
This is just probably a little bit more.
This is more intelligent, and this is easier to do like Title 24 with. So Blue Box is a little, I wouldn't say outdated, but it is older, and even we're starting to have, instead of like, a lot of times what we have is M light for all interior, and then like a blue box for the exterior, or just an LCD panel in general. We'll have this, and now they're making ARP panels. It's an M light panel basically. So there's no time clock or anything in there. You're just using that eclipse as your time clock, And so instead of having that little touchscreen and doing all that, you can go in the programming and do all that stuff. So, all right. What we'll do is we'll go back in the building and go to some of these rooms right here and kind of check out what we have going on.
Where you got the building, right?
Really having any foreknowledge of what's going on. Same thing. So we have the intelligent fixtures right here. So this room is going to be pretty simple. So with this room, we have a wall switch with a sensor in it already. No different than any of the other rooms. You have your on-off option. You see it dim down, and then if you hit it, just let it go. You'll see it go all the way to dim, and then go to that shut-off mode. Once again, no relay. There's still, 277 or 120?
277.
Yeah. Turn it back on.
Don't ever think that you can work on because the light's off. I'm sure you already told me that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So off. So I dimmed it, turn it off, turn it back on, then come back up to the slide level. Okay. When you have a room like this, it's pretty simple. Wall switch, fixtures. That's it. You may have, you guys did receptacle relays in the offices, right? Or no?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So realistically, all you would have, like in this room, are the fixtures. Coming out of here, you're gonna have Cat 5 going from fixture to fixture, and you're just gonna have power landed at each fixture. That's it. If we look at this as a single room, it would not have to be connected to the system. It would not have to be connected to a bridge, the eclipse, anything like that. These fixtures put power over the Cat 5 over that 24 volts, those 2 wires we're talking about on the Cat 5, and that powers this switch, okay? As long as I have this little green LED, I can turn the lights on and off, everything's good to go. This aux sensor is gonna be set at 10 minutes, the dim at 7.5. So if we walk out of here right now with the lights on, leave the door closed, lights are gonna go out, okay? Just like all these other rooms we're looking at. Only difference would be if I manually turn them off. Once I manually turn off a light switch, I have to manually turn them back on, okay? So one thing we talked about, we don't really need to go to one because it's actually the exact, same wall switch as this, but, a normal residence room is gonna have this same type of switch. Those are set to manual on, okay? And the reason being is that way you're not gonna get the lights turning on when you're asleep or anything like that. It's, you walk in, hit the light switch on, the lights are on, you leave. The aux sensor will turn it off, but you'd have to manually turn it back on again, okay? But all these common areas, all these offices, no one likes manual on in terms of like an everyday thing. It's more just a residence type thing you do it for, okay? So it won't really be any different than this. So once again, Cat 5 out of this switch, fixture, 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 fixture. The only thing that may deviate from that is the offices, and they can, double check, is if they have any receptacle relays, which we should actually be able to see on the receptacles. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll come in here. So by code, it's mainly offices, but you could have, a lobby that has a computer station, a receptionist area, things of that nature have controlled receptacles. That's controlled through our system, okay? So in here, even though we wouldn't have a lighting relay, we do have a receptacle relay. That relay is blue. So coming out of that switch, come out of the switch, most likely hit the receptacle relay. It's probably up on the wall somewhere here, and then fixture, okay? And that would be if it was like a standalone room, that's all you have. Even though the aux sensor is on that wall switch, it does not work with the physical switch. If I hit off, the receptacle will not turn off. So if I want to work in my office dark, that's fine. I can do that. I can hit off, and as long as the sensor keeps reading me, which it will, every time you see that thing, that sensor is green, it's resetting it to 10 minutes. So every time it turns green, 10, 10, 10. So if it's just constantly green, that time delay is never even going down. You're good to go, even in the dark. That receptacle will be hot. Once you leave the room and it times out, there's no occupancy, everything's off, then that receptacle will go off. Same setting, 10 minutes, okay? So whatever the lighting is, the receptacle is, because the sensor itself has the time delay set on it. Dim at 7.5 minutes. After everyone's left, 2.5 minutes later, the lights would be off, the receptacles would be off, okay? And once again, if I want to turn off the switch, that's fine. I have to manually turn it back to come on in. And even if it's off, if the room is occupied, that receptacle is still hot. All of those should be marked. That's a code thing. We can see they're marked. You can see it's just half of them. So you'll probably have receptacles over there. Some are marked, some are not. So that would be something on you guys in terms of two things you're gonna hear about, okay? With lighting controls, of many maybe, I don't know, but I know these two. The whole manual off thing. People are gonna walk out of their room, they're gonna leave the lights on. Someone else is gonna come back and clean the room and turn the light switch off. They're gonna come in the morning and be like, my light switch doesn't work. Or my lights didn't, the aux sensor doesn't work. You're gonna ask them, did you turn the lights on and they turned on? Yes. Okay, someone most likely turned them off. I didn't. Correct, someone else may have, okay? Second are the receptacle relays. Teach them that where they say controlled, why that is and what that's doing, and that if you plug in your tower to it, you're gonna be turning off your tower all the time. So the intent is something like a fan, a lamp, your computer monitor.
Heater.
Yeah, a heater, any of that type of stuff. Yeah, it could be plugged into the receptacle relay. They leave it on, it's not gonna matter, it's gonna turn off with the sensor. Your actual CPU would be plugged into a normal relay or a normal uncontrolled outlet, okay?
These controlled outlets, do they sell those already labeled like that, or were you guys?
Yeah, these ones were already labeled.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have very nice penmanship.
Hey, you know,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not scratching at it, but maybe it's a sticker. But they look
No.
pretty. They look pretty like
They're
they're
beefy.
manufactured like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Is it just the top outlet or is it both?
No, it's just what
Just
is
the one
literally
that's
whatever
labeled.
one that says it. So the bucks, it's just that top portion. You can do it multiple ways. Like the other way that could have been done is they could have had like the left side is controlled and the right side is uncontrolled. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as it's kind of half. It doesn't really matter, but whatever says controlled will be your controlled. The ones that are blank are not controlled.
And these are just in office areas and stuff, not
Typically, office areas, you probably have it in the receptionist area. You're not going to have it in the rooms or anything like that. It's not required. Areas like, you know, an electrical room, stuff like that. If you even have a receptacle, it's not going to be controlled or anything like that.
Title 24 thing, or
Yeah, exactly. And so Title 24 dictates you don't always have to do it, but when it comes to a new construction, it's mandatory.
required.
Yeah, exactly. There's some ways to get around it if it's not new construction, but new construction is always now. So, and it always has been in the last 4 years now. The only, like I said, like the electrical room, like mechanical room won't have them. Just to let you all know, right now there is like an aux sensor and a switch in the mechanical room and probably in the electrical room. What room were we just in?
That was a.
That was a bike room.
That's the IDF room? Okay. Yeah. All right. So everywhere, so all the electrical rooms and mechanical rooms should just be an on-off switch. They can still use our product and use a switch and a relay, but it's not a necessity. It can just be a toggle. So if you were running into an issue in those rooms, you can kind of bypass that stuff. All right. Any questions on what we got going.
I had a question about you keep saying 24 volt that comes on that Cat 5
Yeah.
cable. Where is that generated?
It's going to be generated off the relay you're using if it's a lighting relay, or if you have an intelligent fixture, it's coming off that intelligent fixture. So if you open one of these fixtures, you'll actually see 4 wires going, well, you have a ground, so you have 3 other wires going from the driver to what's called the NIO, the NIO, where the Cat 5 is plugged in. Purple, gray for your 0 to 10, and then blue, 24 volts. Okay?
Okay.
Just something real quick, he'd mentioned the Cat 5 coming down to these motion switches. Up in the dorm units, they're line voltage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in the actual rooms up there, it's all line voltage. You're saying?
Yeah. So it's all pretty straightforward. Here, we can step out of here.
So let's say you'd like something to first.
The same switch that has line voltage in it. Okay. What you are going to see in areas like this, though, is the daylight harvesting. Okay. So as you can see, all this is kind of dim right here. What happens with daylight harvesting is it's supposed to just be realistically a mixture. It's getting light coming in, and what they're doing is lowering the artificial light because there's more natural light coming in. So we're not looking to turn off the lights. The lights aren't going to turn off. They're just going to dim as the sun comes up through the day. Okay, starts getting on the other side of the building. This area is going to come back up and everything. They actually just troubleshot this area and got it going. That should be different though. That's not going to be a.
Those two that you see, Jim, those are emergencies, so maybe something you can look at.
Okay. Yeah. Have they not been like that, or?
I'm not sure. I thought they had that fixed, but
And both of them are emergencies?
yeah. Yeah, the end of this fixture and the end of that fixture.
And it's just one relay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Maybe the 0 to 10 too. Well, where's the switch in here? Oh, it's just that GFX up there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that switch, so one thing with the switch is they're mandatory, but they don't have to be in the physical space so that, tenants or whoever's in that area can start messing with them. So the controls from over there. So what I'll do is I'll go over there in a minute, I'll raise them up and see if those come up.
First one we looked at today.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all in there. It was all labeled, and I saw it for like the kitchen and everything like that. But so like I said, daylight harvesting is just inherent in what we program for Tablet 24. If you raise the lights up though, they'll stay like that until they cycle off. So for instance, they're dimmed down to 20%. If I go over the switch, raise everything up, they'll go to 100%. And until I hit off or until they turn off with the aux sensors, they'll stay at that 100%. Okay, so you kind of override it for a time. But once again, this is no different than kind of everything we talked about. You have your aux sensors in here, because of the type of fixtures they're all going to be relays, and then you have your switch over there. So this is actually one big daisy chain of devices. So you'll have most likely your relays are probably back in these rooms over here for access, because there's T-bar and everything. It's all hard lid, and then you'll have just Cat 5 going out sensor, and coming back through these sensors and back through any relays and the switch over there. Okay.
And the daylight harvesting, is that just programmed? There's
Yeah.
no sensor for that or anything like
Well, I mean, the sensor's reading the daylight.
that? Okay.
Yeah. So the sensors all look the same, but what we use is a combination sensor sometimes, or sometimes we'll use just an individual daylight sensor. So if you look over there, there's, see how the lens on this one is flat? Yeah, that's a daylight sensor. The ones that are rounded, even though they could just be an aux sensor, they could be both. Yeah. So once it has an occupancy sensor and a daylight sensor, it still looks exactly the same. All right. So that's where it kind of comes into being able to jump in the programming. You can take it down and set it has the tag on the back.
Yeah.
It says what it is.
Tell them right. It's just there's so many different devices.
Yeah, ours all are the same housing. So you'll have your fire, you'll have this or that. But if you look in here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just in range of where I'm standing. Okay. And this one? 7. Yeah. So like over there you have that side's not really dimming. There's not, you know, really a lot of light coming in. This side has a little more light just because of the larger scale of the windows. Okay. So, but as you can tell, it's not dark in here. That's the intent. It's not to make the room dark. It's to just use the light that's provided to us for free. So.
This is another Title 24 thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So Title 24, in essence, you have aux sensors or time schedules. Here we have aux sensors exterior. We have time schedules. You have the receptacle relays. You have the daylight sensors, and then the next big thing is automatic demand response. When you have over 10,000 square feet, you have to make it to where anything that's common, office, all that, everything but the actual residential rooms can dim down. You can shed the load by tying in with the utility company, but it's not a necessity or requirement to tie into the utility company and have them basically control it from there. They would control and say, hey, we're to shed 15%. So, I mean, those are kind of the fundamentals behind it. Obviously, there's more to it, but in general, it's that. And then, you know, other buildings pretty much gonna be the same thing. So yeah, so there'll just be one eclipse here, one eclipse in the other building, and then that would be the extent of it. So just 2 eclipses. So, any questions? So what we can do, if you wanted, we can look at that switch real quick and raise these lights up and see if they go up. And then if not, then it's not. I just have to bring that information into my computer. Other than that screen, all the other devices, any settings that are on any of the devices, they're there, the labeling's there, any of that.
And
So it's just this type of touchscreen.
is this accessible for any normal person, or is this really?
You have to download the software.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I assume it's free, or?
Yeah, it's an open platform. Anyone
Okay.
can do it.
That's what I was wondering. Was an antenna not plugged in out there or something, or what?
No, it was. I just didn't know the label of everything. So what I'm doing is okay. So I'm looking for.
Two of those.
Mm-hmm. He's saying they're emergency ones. I don't know if they are. Maybe this one. That's probably this one. There you go. That's the other one. So, actually, so this one really. So it's this one over here.
Came down, but
Here, what we're gonna do is put these ones on the same photo sensor so we're not getting a difference in how they're reacting. Kitchen kitchen putting all the kitchen ones on one sensor so that we're not seeing something different from
So
either
these
side.
are when you call out channel, or when
Yeah,
it's calling
exactly.
out channels, these are different sensors or something.
Yeah. And then we really don't need that.
So like maybe like that one would be tied to one sensor.
Right, exactly.
That way the daylight would set lower
Exactly,
and
yeah,
stuff
so
like
the
that.
different sides and everything.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of getting different signals.
And those two specifically were just on different
Yeah,
sensors
so
or
yeah,
something.
exactly. So there you go. See how they all went up? Once again, this isn't really stuff you guys are gonna have to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I assume all that should be taken care of at the time. On this floor?
No, 2 through 8.
Okay. So this does
does
everything.
each one have its own switch?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll have a switch per floor, but you'll only have an eclipse per segment. Okay.
There's one here and there's one around the corner.
So there's some clips in there.
Yeah. But those aren't gonna. You're not really gonna have to mess with those. You have a bit of what's going on.
So you say there's another one that does the other wing, or?
Yeah, we'll show you right now. So this one's in the electric room on 2 that does 2 through 8
Okay.
segment
One or two. Or
1, yeah. I know building B. I get mixed up in A. And there's 1 and 2
Is that one?
in the
Yeah.
storage room. So we go, I'll show you that. So you
And that splits right at our joint right
Yes.
here, right?
There it is right there.
Building B, segment 1.
It's nice in this room, actually.
So really, we're just looking at the location of the eclipse right now. So the eclipse for building B is in this room right here, and then all the devices are just hooked to this one eclipse. We shouldn't have multiple eclipses in this building. All right. If we want, we can look in the cafeteria as well, kind of see what we have. Because in here alone, we have 300 devices. So this is kind of your most saturated building in terms of how many devices are on one eclipse. Everything else is kind of minimal because it's so broken up. And then you have the different segments too, or different floors. But that's it for that. And then same thing, time date's correct. Because a lot of times on when it comes to, and we'll see when we go in there, restaurants and stuff could be on a time schedule. There might be off sensors, but we'll go in there right now and just take a look at the cafeteria. All these rooms right here, they're own individual rooms. They're not part of the cafeteria. They have aux sensors. We walked in here, the lights turned on. It's just a single pole switch. Pretty basic. No different than a small office we walked in, really. But probably not any controlled outlets that I can see. So those are straightforward. They'll operate just like any of those offices we saw. The cafeteria itself is on a time schedule. So that doesn't have any aux sensors you can see. So you'll see a photo cell from time to time. I see one down by the skylights. Probably get one over here by these lights. But most of these areas probably won't get much dimming on this side. Those windows aren't very big, and you have a big building right next to them. Those skylights seem to have kind of an angle on them, so you're probably not going to get a whole bunch of dimming. That far side you'll get a little more dimming, but it looks like everything's tinted a little, so that'll help. So it's not a requirement that it does dim, it's just that it's capable of it. If it never gets the amount of light it's supposed to, it just won't dim that much. All right.
Where is the switch for the satellite?
Where is the switch? So our switch is Those are all for the stuff.
Our buildings, those are definitely those.
Got it down there. So all your options are on here. So the main one is
You can lock
all
out.
on and off. So literally everything.
This one with the passcode.
Well, you can enter a passcode.
Yeah.
So right now the passcode only locks you out from making any programming changes, like what channel's which. But we can change it to where the passcode's to the front, so you'd have to enable that, and then once it's enabled, you'd have to punch in a passcode to turn the lights on and off. Right. So,
Which they're all programmable anyway, so you can have it come on at a certain time of the day.
well, there's already a time schedule, most likely, when it comes to something like this. So, and there's most likely a switch on the other side because of how big this area is. It doesn't seem like because all those cans are still on. So I bet you there's a switch on that side as well. So it's probably split. Yeah, and here too. And then there's individual options to do these different areas. So I don't know what each one's called, but like I think this is the. So 100's all this area right here, pendants, right there. And then 101, right there. Yeah. 101 cans. So it'll just so on and so forth. You'll have control of each individual area or the all option where you can hit everything on and off.
So the left, it's one option, and the right one is a selection of.
You have to read it. So all lights, 100 entry, 100 downlights, 100 pendants. So it's the different areas, and then you have the dimmer, and then you have the on and off for each of those areas. Good. And then same thing. So as we get into individual rooms, it'll be no different than any of the other rooms we walked in. Same operation with aux sensors,
So
switches.
these have a remote?
These are the what's the control?
What?
Do these go to the building management system?
The same system we've been looking at, yeah. Not the building BMS, but
Yeah,
to.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, we hadn't talked about that at all yet. So our system is just standalone right now. So from the Eclipse to Bridges to each zone. And each zone will contain whatever devices were installed for that zone. Per switch leg, per aux sensors, whatever is supposed to be there. It can be part of the BACnet system, but I see it right now, it's not.
Does it have remote control or no?
No. So yeah, each Eclipse has an IP address. So that can be a part of pulling it to the server and having the software on the server, or like I said, the BACnet. I'd have to double check on the BACnet. I don't know if it was specified, so I could be wrong about that. They're not BACnet capable, but so don't quote me on that. But on the software, you could have any of this, regardless of how you order it, with the software on a server. You could have all those Eclipses going to different switches, and they're all labeled per like segment or floor, and you'd be able to go to each one. So you have 20 of them. You'd have 20 different IP addresses. So I mean, that pretty much covers everything. I'm sure there's little things here and there that are a little bit different, but same fundamentals. You know, whether you have aux sensors or an intelligent fixture or just a relay, whether you have receptacle relays, it all just depends on that room and what's required in that room and kind of what you see in that room. Like I said, I don't need plans to kind of see how things operate. Do I have receptacle relays? No. Do I have relays or intelligent fixtures? I can hit the switch and kind of verify that. Do I have aux sensors? No. I have some photo cells in these areas. See the flat lens? And then this would all be on the time schedule for the coming off that eclipse. So and that's pretty typical for like cafeterias and restaurants and even stores. They don't put aux sensors. All right. Do you have any questions?
You know, one thing they programmed in was the kitchen in the back, the lights are on, they're only off from 1 till 5 a.m. And they can manually override, but they go out from 1 to 5 because I guess it's gonna close at 12, so they figure it'll be done by 1 o'clock. They open at 6 and they figure they'll be in at 5. So.
And once again, if they ever just get it earlier, they'll head on. So any of our time schedules have a 2-hour override. So they got it at, you know.
And the switches in the restrooms here have been overrode so that you can't go in there and turn the lights off manually. In the
So they're just on the aux sensors?
Yes. For safety. Yeah, they have their own switch. Yeah. But it's what's the word I'm looking for?
It's still part of the M-Light system. They're not like the line voltage in the
No.
So they're still
residence
connected to
rooms. They're still part of our system, yeah.
So they're still connected to bridges and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're programmed not to be operational
Yeah.
then, because they don't want anyone going in there turning the lights off and.
They'll just turn off by themselves. So.
Yes. Something of the word I'm looking
Is there anything else we want to look at? We kind of covered all the locations, different switches, different aux, you know, the way the aux sensors are going to operate, different types of rooms. We covered quite a bit. That concludes it on my end.